The International Day of Sign Languages is a unique opportunity to support and protect the linguistic identity and cultural diversity of all deaf people and other sign language users. During the 2023 celebration of the International Day of Sign Languages, the world will once again highlight the unity generated by our sign languages. The day is observed on the 23rd of September along with the International Week of the Deaf. To give us more insight on the significance of sign language, I'm joined by the Executive Director at the Namibian National Association of the Deaf, Mr. Linekela Paul Nanyeni. And of course, in the background, the voice giving responses to our conversation this evening will be of sign language interpreter Salma Moses. Mr. Nanyeni, good evening and welcome. Just to start with, firstly, perhaps you can help us understand, the role that the Namibian National Association of the Deaf plays in the lives of course, deaf people and other sign language users.
Good evening. I will explain briefly that the Deaf Association is an association that is a national organization that is actually interested in helping the deaf people. We focus on sign language, human rights, education, access to information, culture, and identity. Mm-hmm. Those are the most important parts that we focus on. We actually try to see that wherever there's an opportunity for a deaf person, they must be employed. We don't want to be left behind as deaf users, but we want to find employment as well. We want to have access to education. We want to train sign language to others to those that cannot sign, and also train sign language interpreters in our country. And later on, we can have a bigger number of sign language interpreters in our country. We are trying to train sign language in our country, and perhaps eventually, once they are skilled, they then become professional sign language interpreters.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that the current policies aimed at people living with disabilities are still relevant, or that there needs to be a reform? And if so, what would you suggest should be part of the reform to these policies?
Okay, before I delve into the question itself, living is the term that we no longer use in our country, in our world. People with disabilities, we don't live with our disability. People with disability is the terminology, the right terminology. So we perhaps try to use that one in future, because people with disability is the right terminology. We are deaf and not hearing impaired. So there are a lot of terminology that are actually supposed to be used that we have, so we should use that in future. And then we can raise awareness, and eventually the world will become a world where we are using the right terminologies. We're actually trying to advocate all types of disabilities, because most of the policies that we currently have are actually outdated, if you look at it. Sometimes government look at us as like in a medical model. So we need to fix you actually for you to become, to be a human being or to be accepted in society. Mm-hmm. The policy should change in a view where they look at us as humans with our rights, with human rights. That once we enable the environment, me as a deaf person will be able to actually achieve whatever I want to achieve. For example, if you have a wheelchair and you're seated, I cannot really see you as a person with disability, but once you give me a ramp, I'll be able to access and be able to do whatever I can do, given the environment is now enabled. Once you've got an interpreter there, I'm able to communicate fully and share whatever I want to do. So if you can view us from this perspective and change our mindset and follow the UN Convention, that for us is what we're lobbying and advocating for. The Act are actually a little bit outdated. They need to be amended to actually tally along with how the world has developed. We want to be included, and then maybe we can give our suggestion as to how best we can actually change these policies in our country. Mm-hmm. When we talk about accessibility, it's not a one-size-fits-all, for example. For me, accessibility means sign language. For a visually impaired person means perhaps braille. For those in wheelchair, they perhaps mean, you know, access to a building and they need a ramp. So one size fits all when it comes to accessibility is what we are trying to change, and to say that each type of disability has its own way of accessing, you know, services in our country. So we need to categorize and individualize this term accessibility, so that all of us can actually feel that we are par, or we are getting the service the way that we ought to get it.
Yeah. Specifically zoning in now on deaf people, what are the challenges that they face?
The first challenge that I would want to highlight is that we are fighting for sign language recognition. We want to sign everywhere, you know, because that's our identity. For us, that is very, very pivotal. We want to show that I am Paul. I have a culture. I have got sign language, and I am deaf, and I'm proud to be deaf. That's what I want to show, actually by using sign language. But now sign language is not recognized in our country. So other countries have recognized their language. They feel that, you know, okay, we see Oshuambo, we see Oshirero. Where is my language? That's the question we are now asking. And we want to actually have our language recognized, so it can be just like any other indigenous languages in our country. That once it's recognized, we are then able to say we have access to each and every service in our country. We can't access education, we can't go to hospitals, we can't get employment. You can apply, I can have qualifications, then they look at it and then they invite you, and then they realize you're a deaf person. How do I interview you, sir? Hold on. Then they put your CV aside, and that's how we lose opportunities. And then you're wondering now, how come I'm never called for interviews? And then they look for the next person in line to give them employment. And that's what we're trying to say. Once we have recognized sign language as a country, all these barriers will be removed. We can get employment, I can sign everywhere, I can get anything and everywhere that I want to go once the language is recognized.
Well, this National Day of the Sign Language will be celebrated this coming Saturday. Talk to us just briefly about the activities you know, that the association has lined up.
The International Day of Sign Languages started actually, it's on Saturday, but I think this week on Monday already, we have already started with a few activities. We have got themes that are aligned, that are specifically for each day. Today's theme is about putting sign language on, putting deaf people on the agenda is today's theme. So we did a march today. We went to actually, well, the march was about us fighting for sign language recognition. And then we have activities that are lined up until Saturday, where we then end up to a theme that says deaf people are able to sign everywhere. That's our theme for Saturday. So whether I'm on daily roundup or wherever I go, I am free to sign everywhere I am. The goal is actually that Saturday is for us to teach sign language on Saturday. And you know, we can perhaps sit stand in the street or in town and hand out dictionaries, sign language dictionaries. We are also giving a discount to those that want to purchase the sign language dictionary. It's actually normally $250, but now we are reducing that price to $200, because we were hoping that everyone can then be able to buy the dictionary and go home and learn sign language.
Fantastic. Your final remarks this evening, Mr. Nanyala?
The final word will be that we would want that all of us in Namibia, countrywide, in this Namibian house, we become inclusive. That we should be able to recognize each and every person's need. We are deaf people, so we want Namibian Sign Language to be recognized. First and foremost, that's our utmost need at the moment. Because right now we feel left out, we feel secluded, we are not involved, we are not participating everywhere. Once our language is recognized, you can give us full access to each and every service in our country. So please, we need to learn sign language. Nina, you should start learning sign language actually.
Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. That was Mr. Paul Nanyela speaking to us there, and Selma Moses, sign language interpreter, helping us along. When we come back, it's time for some entertainment. Stay with us.